I want to first share what the president has said over the last few weeks. Please watch this.
There was no quid pro quo at all.
There is no pro quo.
There was no quid pro quo. There was no quid pro quo, unlike Biden.
The text message that I saw from Ambassador Sondland, who's highly respected, was there's no quid pro quo. He said, by the way, there's no quid pro quo, and there isn't. There was no quid pro quo. There was nothing.
How much damage do you believe Mick Mulvaney did? Forget how the media characterized it after. You watched.
Donald Trump supporters expect that he is a frequent shameless liar, and they don't really mind, and he gets a pass because it's so frequent. But Mick Mulvaney is the White House chief of staff, and his performance yesterday just completely refuting what the president had been saying and admitting to a quid pro quo. He doesn't get a do-over the way that Donald Trump gets to just spew nonsense constantly. He's not Donald Trump. He's not perceived as someone who is off balance and off kilter and crazy. He's supposed to be the chief of staff at the White House who is overseeing everything happening in government at the president's behest. And so it's very damaging for the Trump administration.
Jeff, what position does this put Mick Mulvaney in? Could the White House say, try again and send him packing? The Wall Street Journal says that the White House fully expected Mulvaney to say there was no quid pro quo. So what in the world happened?
Well, those are both good questions. Number one, it's notable that President Trump yesterday did say he has confidence in Mick Mulvaney. That doesn't mean, though, that he's not upset about the results of that performance in the briefing room. We have certainly seen the president before say that he has confidence in someone and then part ways with him. So I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen with Mick Mulvaney, but I'm sure that it's certainly a legitimate question. In terms of what happened, I spoke to a former administration official yesterday who said that surely Mick Mulvaney going into the briefing room was something that the president knew was going to happen and gave his blessing to. So in terms of what came out of his mouth versus what the plan was, that's something we're just going to have to keep asking. Clearly, as you've already played on this program, what he said and then what he tried to correct himself to having said later are two different things.
Let's go back in time. Joel, I want to remind people what Mulvaney was specifically talking about when he says the reason the president held up the money was because of that thing in 2016. That thing is a conspiracy theory that somehow links Ukraine to Hillary Clinton's emails. And I want to share what President Trump's first Homeland Security advisor said about that back in September.
It's not only a conspiracy theory, it is completely debunked. It sticks in his mind when he hears it over and over again. And for clarity here, George, let me just again repeat that it has no validity.
That's Tom Bossert. OK, that's not a Democrat. So it's not just that the president was holding up the money. It was why he was holding it up.
Yeah, that's right, Stephanie. And it's like they're searching for the lost city of Atlantis. It's a fake search. This is intentionally being done to undermine a political opponent. And the thing that keeps on coming up in my mind after watching the Mick Mulvaney pressers is how stupid do they think the American people are? I mean, at a certain point, these kinds of consistent lies, looking after false targets, trying to undermine our diplomacy in the world, undermine our word, having the chief of staff confused, being honest and taking it back. This is all descending very rapidly and collapsing right in front of our face. And I can't imagine that right now Senate Republicans in particular are feeling comfortable in their position. And I'm sure that Nancy Pelosi, she realizes now that she's playing with House money, that she really has these Republicans twisting in the wind. They're laying out all the goods of all the malfeasance and all the corruption right in front of us.
Elise, meanwhile, Stephanie Grissom, as Hans pointed out on Fox News this morning, saying the media is in a tizzy. Everyone's hair is on fire. No one's hair is on fire this morning. Definitely not anyone here. But for Republicans, does what happened in the last 24 hours change the calculus in any way?
Well, look at Stephanie Grisham herself and how she refuses to do press briefings, which has always been at the forefront of the role of being press secretary, that you brief the American public. House Republicans, Senate Republicans, you see very few individuals who are willing to put forward a very strong defense of Donald Trump in this Ukrainian scandal. When they do, you look like a liar and a mouthpiece, and Donald Trump frequently, within minutes of your robust defense, contradicts what you say. So it's very shaky territory for anyone to risk their own reputation, especially with this particular scandal.
Joel, how strange is that? Someone in Stephanie Grisham's role, give us a little historical perspective, to not be doing press briefings. Isn't that exactly what the person who fills her job does?
Yeah, we're seeing U.S. officials evacuating the playing field right before our eyes and failing to do their work on behalf of the American people. And it's clear. President Trump, when he ran, he said, only I can do this, only I. Well, it's becoming an only I government, and he can't. And he's failing, and his team is afraid of him. It looks like she's suffering from Stockholm syndrome. She's not going to want to go out there lest she get berated when she goes back into the office. Clearly, he dictated to Mick Mulvaney the language about no quid pro quo. I mean, this essentially is the decapitation of the American government that is supposed to be working for us on our behalf. And we're seeing in the real world, with Syria as an example, the consequences. And it's very dangerous. And it seems like it's only going to get worse.
Jeff, I want to share a quote from your article because I had to read it twice. You quoted a former administration official, not a Democrat, who still has ties to the White House, who said that Mulvaney's remarks are not a smoking gun, but they are just another piece to the puzzle. What did they mean by that, and how does it impact the impeachment inquiry?
Well, a couple different things. I spoke to a few former administration officials yesterday who sort of echoed that sentiment. They didn't think that this was going to be the thing that would bring the president down, but they thought it gave more fodder to Democrats. And they also felt that it gave sort of credence to the fact that the White House itself is not taking the impeachment inquiry seriously enough. And they are actually eager to go out and defend the president, talk about things, and they're not getting talking points. They're not getting direction from the White House. One of the things that Mick Mulvaney said yesterday at that briefing that didn't get as much attention was that he didn't feel that they needed a war room at the White House because the president had done nothing wrong. And one of the other officials I spoke to for that piece said, even if you did nothing wrong, it doesn't mean you shouldn't have a team around the president helping to deal with this. One person is not enough. And that one person so far has been Donald Trump.
There's one more thing, Elise, I would like you to weigh in on. It's a bit more of what Mick Mulvaney had to say yesterday about the diplomats who are leaving their posts and testifying. Please watch this.
What you're seeing now, I believe, is a group of mostly career bureaucrats who are saying, you know what, I don't like President Trump's politics, so I'm going to participate in this witch hunt that they're undertaking on the Hill. Elections do have consequences, and they should, and your foreign policy is going to change. Obama did it in one way, we're doing it a different way, and there's no problem with that.
Is that how you would characterize the people who are coming forward to testify? They don't like Trump's politics?
I find what Mulvaney said to be incredibly offensive. There's always a tension between political appointees and the career diplomats at the State Department, but it's a tension that all administrations manage to navigate, and you simply cannot do away with our foreign policy, with the command structure of our foreign policy, and outsource it to your personal lawyer because your personal emissary is willing to break the law. And so by rejecting the career diplomats who follow the law, look at the position that the Trump administration has put themselves in.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.